Hey everyone out there, welcome. I'm Adam. This is a full-on film and format review of JFK. So JFK is a film by Oliver Stone starring Kevin Costner, and it came out in 1991, I believe. It's a film that I hold dear to my heart, and I'm going to get into the reasons why. So this is going to be pretty much like a spotlight feature review of the film itself, but more importantly, we're going to be talking about the newly released 4K edition from Shout Select, who brought out the 4K release of JFK, and comparing it against all the other formats, going back to VHS and a Laserdisc, the DVD, the Blu-ray, which I also have at hand as well, the Digibook version, which is very unique, I think, and I will talk about that. But the film itself was filmed on a budget of $40 million. And when it was released in the theaters, and I do believe it was 1991 it got released, it took $205.4 million. So made a profit for the studio, Warner Brothers, who released it pretty much everywhere, I feel. I didn't actually catch it at the cinema. I believe it was a 12, I think, when it hit home video. It doesn't actually say anywhere what rating it is on these discs, to be honest. It says R, actually, so that's a 15 or an 18. I think it's an 18. I don't know the American system, but over here I'm pretty sure it was like a 15 in the cinema and a 12A on home video. I didn't watch it in the cinema, like I said. I didn't actually start going to the cinema properly, like on a regular basis, until 1992, so I didn't catch this. But because of the time it came out, Dances with Wolves, and I do remember going to see that at the cinema with my mom, that had come out and I really enjoyed that. And I think Robin Hood had come out, but it hadn't hit home video, and I'd seen that and loved it. Basically, big Kevin Costner fan at this point. Now, I also grew up in Dallas, Texas, so knowing that this was about events in the past taken, that took part in Dallas, I was like, well, hey, I used to live in Dallas. I really wanted to catch this, and I went and bought the VHS. It was a single VHS tape. It was about 2 hours and 20 minutes, and I was really taken aback, not just by the story, but by the way it was presented. And I think anybody who's into filmmaking, or anybody who loves like 35mm film, anybody who loves the process of cinema, is going to appreciate this film. Like, forget the story, just the way it was done, the way it was shot and presented, I think you're going to have a real love of appreciation for this film, just because of the way it was presented, basically. So when I first watched it, of course, like I said, I grew up in Texas, and I was like, whoa, I don't remember at all in school ever anybody mentioning about Kennedy, assassination, Oswald. Like, I grew up in Dallas, and nobody talked about it. Me growing up, I was there from the age of 4 till 12, and not a single dicky bird. Like, no advertisements, and obviously I wasn't in Dallas when the film came out, so I was unaware about them actually going to film. And when Oliver Stone needed to get the access rights to film in Dealey Plaza, he came up against a lot of problems. In fact, it was literally, he sent out his location scout to smooze the city officials, take him out to dinner, and get him on the good side. And I think in the commentary, or one of the behind the scene featurettes on the 4K disc, she talks about literally finding out that they're going to tear up the road right before they're going to shoot a film, and she went and laid in the road so the diggers wouldn't do anything, because they were marking the markings on the ground, and she's like, you're not going to do anything. And anyway, they did eventually get to film at Dealey Plaza, but from that point on, they were now under the spotlight, and they came up against a lot of like government interference, journalism sort of slating them from the very beginning. But in all honesty, there's a lot of stars in this film. Like, you'd be surprised. Like, obviously Kevin Costner's in it, right? But it's also got like Kevin Bacon, Tommy Lee Jones, Gary Oldman, even stars of TV. You know, like the girl who plays Roseanne's sister, Laurie Metcalf, is in this, who did the voice of Andy's mom in Toy Story. And you've got people like Sissy Spacek. You got the computer nerd from Jurassic Park, Dennis Nedry, played by I forget his name now. Sorry, mate. Wayne Knight. That's it. Michael Rooker is in this. You know, I'm Mary Poppins, y'all. Like, there's so many stars in this, and they all give a stellar performance. And of course, the film itself, I mean, if you haven't seen it, I'm not going to give it away, but you should know it's about the assassination of John F. Kennedy, you know, in 1963. Now, soon after the actual assassination took place, there was a commission report that the government, kind of FBI, put together called the Warren Report, and it talks about one single man taking a couple of shots at the president and headshotting him from a 6-story book depository window. And that's the story that's been fed to the public ever since. Now, I think this film, when it got released, kind of had a misconception. Oliver Stone, in the commentary tracks, goes over this. And talks about how the intention of this film wasn't to say, this is what we believe has happened, this is the truth, and what the government are saying is false. What the intention of the film was to say, actually, we don't believe what the government are saying of the lone gunman. Even Oswald himself said he didn't do it, and he was a patsy. And there's so much evidence to prove that he actually couldn't physically do that shooting. And Oliver Stone offers up an alternative story for what may have happened, and that's really the intention of the film. It's not meant to be, this is fact and you need to believe this. It's more of a, well, have you considered this? You know, and then you're meant to sort of make up your own mind after you watch the film. It's basically meant to give you sort of questions that need answering, and for you then to go on your own little quest to go and solve those questions. That's the intention of the film, and I think it was really misunderstood. Like, Siskel and Ebert loved the film when it came out, I believe. A lot of people loved it. I mean, for 205.4 million people like worth of box office it took, but it was up against a lot of scrutiny, and I do believe it actually won a lot of Oscars as well. And got nominated for a lot. But anyway, the film itself is shot on this is the part now I love about the film. So forget the story, shove that to the side. The bit I really love about this film is the way it was filmed, right? So Oliver Stone uses 35mm cameras with varying different stocks of film to begin with. He also uses 16mm, right, with varying different stocks of film. He uses Super 8mm cameras with varying different stocks of film, and incorporates archival footage with varying different stocks of film, all edited into this masterpiece artwork. It really is. If you're into photography, if you're into cinema, if you're into, you know, old film stock and old film projection, this film is a masterclass to show you what you can do with the presentation and the story. So within the story of JFK, he uses multiple cameras and multiple stocks of film to tell a narrative, mixed in with archival footage, sometimes actually replicating and duplicating the archival footage but with a different angle, and then edits them all together for a seamless blend. Like, there is so much footage in this that I thought was actually original archival footage, and it turns out that they got some actors and they filmed it and mixed it in and edited it, and it honestly, it takes you on a journey through time and space, you know, slowing down film, you know, to sort of give you a sense of auditory and visual sort of imbalance. So it plays with like time. You know, it changes stocks to give you a different feel for the emotion of the scene. It changes the actual camera itself to either replicate news reports, what happened as a flashback in the past, or because they're shooting at night versus day. You know, it really is been, whoever shot this film, like it says cinematography by Robert Richardson, like bravo on the cinematography. It has been shot very theatrically, I'd say. But the editing of all this together, like it says Joe Hutzing, Pietro Scalia, and I believe there was another editor involved, and then an assistant editor who really became a fourth editor. They really are the geniuses behind Oliver Stone's work. Like, he puts it all together, but they've edited it. And they were all editing at the same time because they were really up against the release date that Warner Brothers had selected for them. So the film itself has really influenced me on presentation of film and how you can tell a story using different camera stocks or lenses. And it for that reason alone, I love watching this film. Now, it was all like the majority of the film was shot on 35 millimeter, and so I believe when they first released the film on home video, obviously there was a master done, and then every copy up until 2023 came from that master. The theatrical cut that hit VHS, Laserdisc, DVD, and then the director's cut that they went back and put in like 30 extra minutes of the film, which I would say doesn't really add that much, but if you're a fan of the film, you're going to enjoy those extra scenes. But it's not like they need to be in the film. They add 30 minutes to the runtime, making it like 3 hours and 50 minutes from a 3 hours and 20 minute runtime. So it kind of does fill up the time. But I wouldn't say they're necessary scenes of, oh my god, if I didn't have that in, it ruins the film. Like, they're great to have it. But that master, came off for the director's cut on VHS, Laserdisc, DVD, and all the subsequent Blu-rays, up until even including this digipack I got. Now, we're going to talk about the sort of the review of the transfer of the 4K. This is a new remaster back in 2023 that they put on 4K and Blu-ray. So it differs from this one, which is the original master back from when the film was first done. I don't believe they actually went back and rescanned for the Blu-ray, because from what I've read, they did a 4K scan back in the day, which is exactly what was used for this, or a 2K scan, sorry, not a 4K, 2K scan, which is what they used for this. So this is basically just a clean copy of the VHS, effectively. When it was released on VHS, like I said, I went out and bought it, and then there was a director's cut, which was a 2 VHS set. I don't have either of those. I do actually think I have the theatrical version, but it's at storage at my mom's. Sorry I couldn't have it here. I'll put some pictures up here of what it looks like. And of course it got released on Laserdisc, and then the director's cut box set was also released on Laserdisc, which I have had in the past, but unfortunately don't have anymore. Again, I'll put some pictures up here to show you what it looks like. And there is a brilliant documentary making of called something like Behind the Conspiracy or something on that Laserdisc director's box set. And when it came out on DVD, obviously DVD just slightly better than Laserdisc, but smaller disc, you know. It didn't transfer any of those great extras over. It was just a bare bones, you know, snap case. I don't even think it had a commentary track on it. But I did buy it on DVD because previously I had the VHS. I didn't have the Laserdisc at this time, but when DVDs hit the market, I went and got that DVD. Literally just a film on a flipper disc. You know, you had to switch it over to get it. So if you want the director's cut, up until Blu-ray, you've always had to flip the discs. Even I think the theatrical cut was a flip disc, I believe, but it had the ratio of 4.3 on one side and then the widescreen version on the other side. I think, if my memory serves me correctly, that's how the DVD when it first came out, and then it was reissued in widescreen single side. There's been numerous Blu-ray releases as well. I don't know if I'm sure the theatrical versions hit Blu-ray, but I went and got the Digibook Blu-ray, which transfers that great documentary on here with, of course, all the deleted scenes, trailers, production notes, and puts it on this disc, which I think it's a great little book here. You got the director's cut on here. The transfer is a clean copy of the one literally on previous releases. Some people might say that the transfer is kind of flat, you know. Certainly on Laserdisc it didn't have a pop, but on the commentary track, Oliver Stone actually explains that he used color and film stock throughout the film to show the passage of time, which is another genius move. So in the early parts of the film, you have this glow, this sort of old golden sort of hour glow to it, and on previous formats I think that was kind of lost and just made the film look a little bit less vibrant in terms of quality of color. Kind of made it look a bit meh, you know. But then as the time went on and the years passed, the color increases and more pop happens in the picture, and I'm sure he used a different film stock to show that, and it's to show the age of time, and I think that's a genius way to represent, just by using a certain type of film stock or a filter on your lens to show a passage of time. Like, I'm sure people still do it now, but it's probably why earlier editions before Blu-ray weren't able to capture the differences due to their lower resolution of this sort of film stock. And in all honesty, the film grain, like, you don't really notice it. It looks fine. The detail is there. It looks great on the Blu-ray. Now let's talk about the newly released Shout Select 4K remaster. So they went back to the original negative in 2023. Oliver Stone supervised it, and they drew off a 4K master for this box set, which comes on 3 discs or 3 sort of cases. It's actually a 4-disc set in 3 cases, which I gotta say, these cases are pretty cool, because like one of the things that I love about the poster for this film is the artwork. The 3-color red, white, and blue with the stars and Kevin Costner, like that needs framing, I'd say. I do actually like the poster art, and then the way they present it is in the 3 colors of red, white, and blue. I mean, it's pretty much more grey on that one, but I do actually like the presentation of the packaging. It is quite nice. Now, talking about the transfer of the film, I do believe a little bit of AI was used, and in all honesty, there's absolutely no point me showing you screenshots. Like, I've got no way of capturing footage off 4K or Blu-ray. I have got a DVD player, so I could capture screenshots off a DVD and show you, but then the recording encoding of this video and then uploading to YouTube and their compression system just kind of removes any type of showcase of picture quality. You're not going to see what I see, you know, on the screen. So for me, there's no point in showing you footage from the 4K, the Blu-ray, the whatever, because it's just going to get crushed through, you know, the process of up to you watching it. So what I say is what I see. That is what the showing of the footage will be, if you get my drift. I'm sorry if you're disappointed in that, and I know other people showcase imagery, but there's just no point, because YouTube's compression just kills it, so there's literally no point. You wouldn't be seeing what I see, and then you'll be going, well, that doesn't look right, mate, what you're saying. And that's because of the process of, you know, recording to encoding to you viewing it. So, but the transfer of this 4K disc, which I do believe is on the blue disc, I think. No, must be on the red. Yes. So the opening it up, you've got two discs in here. One's the 4K director's cut, and then sadly the other one is the Blu-ray for the director's cut. But the theatrical cut, if you want that, is on a separate disc, which sadly is Blu-ray only. Like, what? No 4K of the theatrical cut. So here we have the theatrical cut, and it's a Blu-ray. So up until I found out that I could play Region 1, I couldn't actually watch the theatrical cut, but I can now. So I'll go back and watch that. But the transfer is the same regardless of the theatrical and director's edition. But the 4K transfer of this, they've done a great job transferring it from the original negative. Colors are exactly how I remember, slightly more enhanced because of the HDR, which is not applied. These discs don't come with HDR, sadly, but the detail is exactly the same. Like, looking at the Blu-ray in this digipack here and then comparing it directly with the 4K, the detail is exactly the same. I mean, I guess that's because it came from the same master, which has only an inherent amount of sharpness within it. There is more film grain on the Blu-ray, and there is pretty much no film grain on the 4K transfer. So I do believe a slight bit of either AI or scrubbing of the image was done to remove whatever film grain you see on this release, which does alter the colors slightly, has been washed out on this one. Now, don't get me wrong, the picture quality on the 4K disc is fine, spectacular. It ain't reference quality. You know, you're not going to look at it and go, wow, there's no HDR. But it looks like it should, is the important point. The picture quality is pleasant. Like, you're going to be happy with it. And remember, we're dealing with a lot of different camera stocks, film negative stocks. There's a lot of different things happening in the film, and it is like as I remember it. Job done. Doesn't need to be played with and tweaked, but the film grain, which during the scan of the negative, although it was the proper negative though, not a print, which is probably, they actually probably went from a print for that one. There is no film grain or dust or dirt, so like the original negative is in very good condition, but the film grain which would have come up in the scan has been cleaned off. So it's like, I don't miss it, but when you compare it with films like, say, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, maybe Jaws to a degree, other films that you do see film grain, it is there. Now obviously if you've got your sharpness whacked up high, you'll probably see the film grain, but I don't. I'm very happy with the state of the 4K. It is totally watchable, very nice. The colors are very soft at the beginning, they sharpen out towards the end. The color goes from sort of goldy, you know, and then it kind of gets a bit more cooler towards the end to show the passage of time. The sound on the disc is very weird. It has DTS. It has DTS stereo and DTS 5.1, and that's it. There is no Dolby Digital, and a commentary track, obviously. But there is no Dolby Digital. There is no any other format other than two DTS tracks, which fortunately my player doesn't do DTS, my receiver. So it was downcoded to PCM, and then the receiver split that across all channels. The sounds, I feel, on the 5.1 versus the stereo are very nice. You had the John Williams score really, you know, hitting the stereo sort of room and hitting the surrounds. The at the beginning, very centralized, very focused at the center. But you wouldn't think that there would be much happening sound-wise in this film, but you'd be very wrong. There is so much happening sound-wise in this film, hitting all the surround channels and the fronts, and there is rumble and there is bass, and honestly, like, the sound is very good. You'll be very happy if you've got a home cinema system. You'll be pleasantly surprised probably because you wouldn't expect it. But sadly, where this whole set kind of falls short is the third disc for the special features, the Blu-ray, which is fine to put it on a Blu-ray, not a problem. But the only features that are on here are ones that Shout Select have made themselves. So what you do have is, and there's 4 new featurettes on here. There's about 3 interviews with various different crew members. There is a sort of Brave New Worlds, which is the editor. There is supporting the vision from the producer. There is recreating the unthinkable, which is the special makeup effects. The Stone Bowls, which is from the cinematographer. Obviously, all the deleted scenes and extended scenes that were on every other release are on here, all with audio commentary track. There is a Meet Mr. X, the personality and thoughts of Flincher Prouty. Only runs 11 minutes. And it, I think, is an excerpt from that Wicked documentary that appeared on this disc, which is absent, which would make a really fine edition, because that documentary that came out on Laserdisc and that older Blu-ray was like an hour and a half long, and it had so much behind the scenes making of, so much of Oliver Stone talking, and also like lawyers, and really going into in depth about not only the filmmaking but the conspiracy or the assassination itself. It was really good. Not on here, not on this set, and it really is really missing. There is One Person Can Make a Difference, which is a kind of like interview with Oliver Stone. It's only lasting less than 20 minutes. The features on here, now there is an audio commentary here on the director's cut, and an audio commentary on the theatrical cut. I haven't yet listened to, like, I've heard the director's cut one. It's the same one that was on the Laserdisc, same one was on previous releases, but the theatrical cut, I'm not sure. I think it's the same, but they've just not obviously included the bits where there would be other scenes of him talking. So, but I'll have to verify that yet. But all in all, I think this is a great release. I don't know, like, I've heard a couple of other people review it, but for me, I'd say, like, it priced 45 quid if you're in the UK, priced I think $55 or $60 if you're in America. Price wise, I don't know about that, to be honest. I'd say this is more 30 quid for what you do get, but happy to pay because I love the film. And if you haven't seen it, I definitely say go check it out. It is so worth watching, because the way it was shot is just amazing, you know. So I don't really like giving films stars out of 5s, because films are subjective, you know. But I will say 4 out of 5 for the transfer of the film to the disc. You know, they've done a good job, and they haven't altered the image or over denoised it or overdone it. Nobody looks waxy, you know. There is, like, you see the details of the prints, which I saw in the Blu-ray, in all honesty. But there is no, like, oh, hang on, this looks totally different. None of that. So it's a very good transfer, I'd say. I mean, if it had HDR or Dolby Vision attached to it, maybe things would pop more, I don't know. But it doesn't have that, I'm afraid. It is a fine release, though. Although it does say Dolby Vision on it. That's so weird. I mean, my TV doesn't support Dolby Vision, but it definitely doesn't have HDR, even though it says Ultra HD Blu-ray, 4K Ultra HD. Does not have that HDR anywhere talking on here. But Dolby Vision it says, so that's a bit weird. But then again, my TV don't support Dolby Vision, so anyway. Thank you so much for watching this, and if there's a film that you want me to review or spotlight feature and talk about, there are a few films that I want to talk about because they affected me or they influenced me or they motivated me throughout life. I will be spotlight featuring them, but majority of future content that I talk about will be the process of the transfer from the original content onto the disc. I got loads of them lined up, but if there's one particularly you want me to talk about, put it in the comments below and I'll add it to the list. Thank you so much for watching this, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.